Hi, and welcome to our talk, in which we will jog in a couple of minutes through the history and the culture of bread making, about what AI has to do with it or not to do with it, on visions of a more circular and an aware future. But first, let me tell you, we Germans, we love our bread. Officially, there are more than 3,000 different types of bread registered in Germany. German bread tradition even got the title of an intangible cultural heritage by the UNESCO. These days, most of us buy fresh bread in a bakery, either a standalone bakery or one in a supermarket, but that hasn't always been the case. In pre-industrial times, most Germans baked bread at home or in communal or village bakehouses. And technological advancement changed this. Improved ovens, later electrical ovens, the introduction of reliable baking powder by Dr. Oetker. All of these made bread production more efficient and also accessible for professional bakers. And more people began to buy bread from bakeries, and by the 20th century this had become the norm. This shift was largely seen as a sign of progress and modernity. It saved hours of work and allowed to leave this work to experts. The variety and the quality of bread improved, and baking became more of a specialized trade over the time. Today, there's even some nostalgia and concern about the decline of these small and family-owned businesses. 300 to 500 traditional German bakeries per year shut down due to the rise of bakery chains and supermarkets that also sell bread. And recently, this rekindled a sort of interest in home baking. Sometimes it's seen even as a sort of counterculture movement. Making your own bread has gone from being the norm to being a nuisance of the past to being something special and wholesome again. So, in many ways, bread is ingrained into our culture, in human culture in general. It's a food we know, we love, we take for granted most of the time. And today, Sam and I are here to tell you a bit about bread and also about bio-circular economy, about food waste, about ordering AI, and how design can help us rethink what we eat and how we eat. So this is me. I'm Xenia Klinger. I'm a data scientist and computational linguist at the German Research Center of Artificial Intelligence. And this is Sam, my colleague.
Thanks, Xenia. Yes, so I'm Sam, and I'm an AI researcher at the DFKI, and also an entrepreneur. So I've been involved with clean tech entrepreneurship in the US and also here in Germany. And I originally started at the Robotics Innovation Center, but now I'm with the Design Research Explorations team here in Berlin. And we are, our acronym is DRX, and DRX is composed of computer scientists in AI and machine learning, and designers, and also experts in UX and human-computer interfaces. But we're also part of the University of the Arts in Berlin, and we work with a lot of artists who are working on the societal aspects of the culinary arts. And so in our discussions with these artists and talking about our own AI topics around food waste, we started getting a review from these experts about the circular economy of bread and baked goods. And so there's many facets to it, but we kind of stick in these four facets here from a high level, around the supply chain, production, use, and recycling. But as we step further out with our so-called artists and experts, we find that the circular economy is just one aspect of bread culture here in Germany and around the globe. And one of the things that we're finding is that there's a lot of knowledge gaps about our bread culture. And the reason for that is, as Xenia just kind of talked about, was that from the late 1800s to the early 1900s, there's been a very strong shift from home baking and artisanal baking to industrialization. And this has led to new norms, basically monocultural aspects, only using certain one or few yeasts and eliminating a large variety of different yeasts, sanitizing food to an extreme, particularly bagging processes. And these new norms have kind of made bread affordable, cheap, accessible, at a very easy to get for everybody. And so bread culture has become very invisible to the community. And because of this invisibleness, this also has led people to kind of slip in regards to the knowledge that they have about supply chains due to war. For example, Ukraine and Russia, which own large amounts of grain and wheat here in Europe and Asia, but then also trade wars that are now front and center for everybody, and then climate change, from droughts on one extreme to floods, and floods are even a big example of problems here in Germany for agriculture. And there's also a lot of knowledge lost because of how to the overproduction of food and bread, and then how to recycle bread. So people probably have not too many people probably know about taking their old bread and actually dipping it in water or soaking it in water and then rebaking it to get fresh baked bread again. But then there's a lot of misconceptions and outdated policies reflecting the old norms that have kind of come into our culture about bread, meaning we don't want to take bread because of sanitation fears and put it back into the food chain or back into the human food chain. And so there's, again, a large amount of knowledge gaps that we're trying to think about filling through the way that we use AI and design in some of our projects around the bread culture. But we're also looking at speculative design and speculative futures. And the reason for this is that as we fill in knowledge gaps and think about how we want our bread culture to evolve from a circular economy perspective and also a policy perspective, we want to be able to have people think about how they will be participants in the bread culture in the future and what sort of things that they would like to see happen so that they're willing to participate on a long-term basis in our bread culture. So our perspective here at the DRX team, or here in Berlin in our group, is bringing together the tools of AI, design research, and design interventions together. So we take the best of AI in the sense that it processes large amounts of data and can generate new types of data, along with design research where we actually ask and work in a human-in-a-loop approach where we do qualitative and quantitative studies to identify quality dimensions that people find most important to them in terms of different use cases. And then we use design interventions to bring AI and these quality dimensions together. And from our perspective, we use design interventions around reflection and friction and other techniques to get people to slow down their thinking process while working with AI tools to kind of grow their knowledge and also change their behaviors in terms of motivation and participation. And so we try to use this perspective to create a human-AI collaboration, and we try to remove the process of just pure automation of using AI tools, but use our design approach to enrich decision-making when people are dealing with bread culture or other use cases. So now I'll hand it back over to Xenia, who will jump into one of our very specific use cases around bread culture, well, in terms of food waste and food production. So I'll hand it over to Xenia.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to cover one particular use case that is based on a project that we at the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence covered that concerns itself with the production side of things. So this was a Green AI Hub Mittelstand project on food waste and ordering AI. These are 6-month AI pilot projects with SMEs. They are funded by the BMUKN and supported by Zug. And there are basically 2 branches in this program. The first is the resource efficiency part. The goals are resource conservation and climate protection, for example, by improving material and energy consumption. And this is supposed to strengthen the company competitiveness. And the second branch is AI technology. So basically, we use AI for this purpose. New approaches for the SMEs are developed to improve resource efficiency. And in our project, this looked like this. So the main goal was reducing food waste and resource consumption. Through intelligent ordering planning, you basically only order as much as you can sell. Daily surpluses are minimized, and as a result, you consume fewer resources, for the production on one side, but potentially also energy is saved for the transportation and also for the disposal of the food that is wasted. With just our 2 partners in this project, we estimated annual savings of 3,500 tons of food waste across 2,800 stores. And from the beginning, we thought not just AI, but also a human factor. We designed with the aim of supporting people in the best possible way. So how can the strengths of humans and AI be combined? And our main method was forecasting. So the underlying problem here is a simple, plain time series prediction. Given a history of sales, we want to predict tomorrow's sales. The target variable is daily sales, but those vary by store, by day, by circumstances. So a couple of input variables are needed that include the past sales, but also additional information, such as what day of the week is it, what's the weather like, is it a public holiday or is it close to a public holiday? Is it another special day that maybe is not a public holiday? And we explored several of these input variables, as well as several kinds of models, from expert-based heuristics to various machine learning regression methods, and even up to neural networks. And thinking the human factor, we also emphasized on trust. So an ordering manager who's responsible for ordering tomorrow's sales or tomorrow's bakery goods needs to understand the forecast that they get from the AI in order to make the best use of it. Regarding our results, so it was a 6-month project, it's over, we found that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. In the evaluation, it became clear that which model, which combination of variables is most successful, it often depends on the specific store data that we're looking at. For example, there are huge differences between stores in train stations and in residential areas. They have a completely different behavior. And in order to fine-tune a model on a specific store, good data is absolutely needed. It's the basis of good forecasts. Be it AI or even human planning, if a human has no access to good data, they also struggle with this. And often stores collect sales data and that's it. So there's really not much more information than what was sold yesterday and last week and maybe last year, but beyond that, not a lot of information. In addition, there's some software out there for ordering. They all specialize in some kind of way. For example, they add weather data to their ordering processes. Or they also often include holiday information and similar. So they know this is the stuff that helps forecasting and helps ordering, so they add it. But then again, that's basically low-hanging fruit. In our data, we never saw information on, for example, was there a flea market in the area? Or was there a demonstration that day? A construction site, a train strike happening again? We would learn about such incidents from anecdotes that we heard in discussions with the store managers who did the ordering. They would know about it potentially, and they would think about it when they would do their ordering. They would go up and down with the numbers, but the system did not know that, and the system did not reflect that in any way. And in fact, this information is not systematically assessed or stored anywhere. We didn't even have information on the opening times in many cases, and we knew they would change, but we didn't know when and to what times. All we had was like human memory, and that was kind of flawed in some instances. And also, they over the years sometimes changed the way they counted their products. So they would build groups and conflate or expand these groups. So the numbers would change over time without the actual change really changing. And therefore, good data management is really needed in many stores. You can get better predictions by incorporating user knowledge. User knowledge is very valuable. The knowledge that the store managers, the experience that they have, it's very valuable. And since personnel changes a lot and very quickly in bakeries especially, it makes a lot of sense to store this knowledge somehow and to give this experience to the next generation of store managers. So we were hoping to make this knowledge available because that helps in decision making and also in automating the forecast if the AI also has access to this information. Additionally, for a human, it's always easier and it feels better if you make a decision and you know which information you base this decision on. And user acceptance is crucial for the success of using AI in an ordering process, but also for using AI in any system really. The goal has to be to leave the decision to the user and just support this decision as optimal as possible. And lastly, while planning for less waste is great and all, there's also a trade-off between selling out, no waste, great, right? And meeting expectations. Wait, did everyone actually get what they wanted and when they wanted it? And these expectations, those are something that bakeries can't really control, at least not as it stands now. And Sam will come to this in a moment, but before, we put everything I just talked about in an interactive demonstrator, simulating a simple ordering software. You can try it online here at the QR code website, or, well, it's quite small, but at this URL. And it also contains some more explanation and context. It's containing a link to the Green AI Hub. It's available in German and English, and you can find out if you order cake smarter than the AI. And with that, I hand back to you.
Thanks, Xenia. So that was just one example of a project where we narrowly dived into a very specific topic of the bread culture around food waste and bread waste, and trying to optimize food order and optimization. And basically, as I mentioned earlier, there's many facets to the bread culture that we want to look at from a higher level, particularly filling knowledge gaps. And one area that we wanted to focus on was, we wanted to explore this from a much higher level than just this narrow production problem. So we started looking at this concept of taking the historical nature of our bread culture, our current state, and our speculative futures, and disseminating information about this on bread bags. So bread bags are typically empty or have quite a bit of white space available to tell stories and to inform people. So we're working with several bakeries to take stories and informationals to get people aware of bread culture from different perspectives. And there's also, as the typical thing, QR codes attached to the stories that allow people to then go into social media to learn more about bread culture, but also to join a bread Reddit to basically communicate with experts in the field to talk about nutrition of bread, about new bread recipes, to talk about the biology of different grains and wheats and yeasts and different processes. And the whole idea is that these communities with experts will come together at a later time to then look at new policies around the circular economy and to envision how new policy and new behaviors can affect our future bread circular economy, and then also to, again, try to get people motivated to participate in this process in the longer term. So the other thing that we're doing beyond bread is taking, starting to look at the many facets of sustainability, and that as a topic of and kind of rethinking relationships in terms of regenerative relationships. And the reason for that is that sustainability is very similar to, as I mentioned earlier, the historical nature of bread. Things have become a little bit of a norm and invisible to us because a lot of people have different vocabulary what sustainability is, and also it's become a little bit ingrained in the way people speak in business and corporate environment and research, but sometimes it feels like it becomes stagnant. So when we think of regenerative, it's not just to put a new term in place, but to think about sustainable solutions are still typically extractive, and we want something that's net neutral or potentially net positive. So the idea is we're trying to come up with these regenerative society, regenerative economy solutions. And so we're working with a group called Sud and Drang GmbH in Hamburg on this Protopia platform. They basically have many clients that they work with who are already implementing regenerative society use cases like Patagonia and several other large brands that are already basically working on bringing regenerative solutions into the consumer and business place, and they have business models about their approaches. So the idea here is that we're with Fluid and Drying on this Protopia platform is creating a mechanism for startups that have new regenerative economy solutions to work with established companies on implementing new regenerative products. And the idea is that they can use this platform to generate not only new business cases, new business models, but also to generate use AI as a generative tool to explore what bringing different product ideas together would mean. And so, in this case, we have an example of Evolve AI shoes, which is like essentially a shoe that adapts to the user over time through sensors, but it's embedded in materials that can then be replaced over time based on how the person's walking in the shoe, but also as the shoe kind of breaks down over time, you can then take the material and recycle it and then replace it with new material. So these are sort of the concepts around this platform that we're working with partners on, and it's essentially tools that we want to kind of develop with future collaborators and partners in industry and academia. And so the last thing we just wanted to leave you with is that in terms of filling knowledge gaps and creating action, particularly for bread culture, we want to keep exploring our multidisciplinary approach to helping solve these knowledge gaps, getting people aware of these knowledge gaps and getting them engaged in the process. And so, again, we think bringing AI design and human-in-the-loop approaches to looking at new circular economy approaches and new policy is a great benefit. So that is the end of the talk, but we're happy to address any questions that you may have about the topic and our research.
Thank you, and a warm hand claps for you. Thank you.